Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the ATDev Podcast. I'm so happy to be joined today by a longtime friend and collaborator, Andrew Ekelem. How you doing, Andrew?
Hey, I'm great, Owen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I understand you just got back from some international travel.
Yeah, I just got back from Jamaica. It was my first time there, and I had a nice little family reunion and got to soak up some sun and eat some good fruit. So it was a great trip.
Oh, that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Jamaica. So you and I have known each other for probably about 7 years, and we were actually roommates. And it would be great, yeah, just maybe starting with your background. What brought you into AT?
So yeah, we met. I think it was 20. It must have been. Was it 2019? Just before the global
Yeah,
pandemic. That yeah. Thanks for giving me your space to crash at
that,
in
that was a fun
Berkeley.
time. And Todd was there too.
Yeah. That was amazing. The universe bringing us together like that, and we're able to still stay in touch. It's awesome. So I guess yeah, a few years earlier though is when I discovered assistive technology. At the time, it was actually when I was an undergraduate at UC Berkeley in 2010, and I was an avid snowboarder. I was going up to I finagled my classes so that I got a 3 day weekend every weekend. I think I switched to material science engineering. And it was like the springtime. I was going up every weekend. And one of the weekends, I got into a snowboarding accident where I injured my spinal cord. I was going
Hmm.
off of a jump, and just the weight of the board and everything landed. Well, I landed on my shoulder, so the weight of the board and everything crushed one of my vertebrae and injured my spinal cord.
Hmm.
I was actually helicoptered to Reno for for surgery. And about 3 days in the ICU, the surgeon comes up to me and says, "You should probably be like not necessarily recovered, but not in critical condition in the ICU anymore. So let's go ahead and do some more imaging." And they actually misplaced like three pedicle screws, which are the screws that hold the fusion rods in place to stabilize the spine. They misplaced like three of them into my spinal column,
Oh
and
no.
yeah, that's when I realized, oh, that's not good. So, just as an engineering student, I realized that there's a huge gap in maybe what a lot of people perceive is good healthcare to what is actually happening in hospitals, and the precision of tools that surgeons have to get things done as optimally as possible. But yeah, that's just the beginning of my journey with spinal cord injury. I injured my T11 vertebrae. So basically, since then, I've been a paraplegic where I've had reduced mobility and feeling below my waist about.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I use a wheelchair to get around. So from that year on, I was just focused a lot of my education and career efforts towards improving, I guess, my experience as well as just other like analogous diseases, injuries that like mostly in the neurotech and neuroassistive devices space.
Right. Wow. I don't think I knew that. That's a really powerful story. I'm glad that you're doing okay now.
Thank you. Yeah, I fell into the space basically.
Yeah, no pun intended. And so after your undergrad, you went to grad school at Vanderbilt, is that right?
Yeah, towards the end of my undergraduate, it's actually interesting how my research trajectory started. I met Diana Lizarraga, who runs the Cal Nerds program as an undergraduate, and she was really encouraging to get into research. I started actually doing research at UC Irvine in the is called the Reeve Irvine Institute,
Uh,
which is a research lab for spinal cord injury. They'll do like mouse models, rat models. It's right next to the stem cell research center. So yeah, pretty well established lab and doing like the benchtop research. The summer project I did there was to inject virus agents into the brain cells to help them regrow the axons through the injury site.
ah, How
Um,
interesting.
and it was really cool, but I just realized like the research arc is really long to get a therapy like that, which is very complex. There's lots of variables, and then you want to just focus on one of the variables at a time, do a research paper, move your way up from mice through dogs, monkeys, etc., and then try it out in humans. So the research
Yeah.
arc was just very long, and I just wasn't that patient. I met Dave Rankensmeyer at UC Irvine, and he got me into robotics and started working on things like a dynamic standing frame. And then when I got back to UC Berkeley, I met Kazaruni, who is one of the pioneers in exoskeleton research and
Yeah.
development.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
was Todd's advisor as well.
Yeah, yeah, he's great. And yeah, they developed the Sudex and yeah, the Phoenix exoskeleton was a minimally actuated exoskeleton, so it didn't have any power at the knee, which is really interesting. And yeah, that's where I fell in love with mechatronics and robots, and I realized there that I couldn't quite use the exoskeleton because I have spasticity, so I could stand and bear my own weight, but I can't really take steps. So my legs are stiff in extension, and the exoskeleton wouldn't move my legs. It would just like move around me.
Uh,
I was just standing around in the lab one day, and this guy named Brian Andrews is a visiting scholar came through, and he was like, "Have you ever heard of functional electrical stimulation?" I was like, "No, what's that?" And it's like using electricity basically through the skin to control muscles. And
yeah.
yeah, and then my mind was pretty much blown. I went to a conference, learned a lot about different ways that people are using electrical stimulation, whether it's like deep brain stimulation for things like Parkinson's or epilepsy, or external just for like stationary cycling for paraplegia. But yeah, and then you could also read from neurons too. So I was like, wow, this is pretty mind blowing stuff. Why isn't it like more commonly used in hospitals and practice? And then from there, yeah, I got introduced to Michael Goldfarb at Vanderbilt, who's building an exoskeleton and also had some history with functional electrical stimulation. And our goals really aligned to have this hybrid electrical stimulation and motor or electrically actuated exoskeleton. So for me, that was just ideal because that way I could get my muscles to work synergistically with the electric motors of the exoskeleton and move better. So that's where I focused my graduate tenure was research and development in hybrid exoskeletons.
That's so interesting. And yeah, a big part of how ATDev was born was out of exoskeleton research as well. So that's really, yeah,
Yeah,
really cool to hear that perspective. And so after your graduate program, I know you came back to Berkeley, and that's when we were roommates with Todd, and you got involved with a company called Evolution Devices.
yeah, that's right. So after graduate school, I was fairly motivated to just improve the like I said, translate the technology because it's great when you're doing the research and development, but if it really never gets to a product, then it's not as impactful. You can still learn from it and prove that things can work, but translation, I think, is where you get all the benefits to see if it's really valuable as a tool for people in their rehab or in their daily lives as assistive technology. So it's quite coincidental that I even met the guys at Evolution Devices. I was working at the a Makeathon at Vanderbilt, I think that January, and I was actually doing my own solo entrepreneurship journey, trying to get some grant funding and just work it out of my garage to prototype some electrical stimulation technology and wheelchair technology. And
3D
um,
printing baby Yodas.
yeah. At that time, yeah, actually, I did have my first two 3D printers and I was working on composite wheelchair stuff as well as the stimulator that I started in grad school. But yeah, it was like this amazing make-a-thon, hackathon. And the focus of the hackathon was for assistive technology, also coincidentally. I'm not sure if Francisco, I forget his last name.
Peralta?
Yeah, Peralta. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
So he was organizing this whole hackathon at Vanderbilt. And I just told him a little bit about my research and next steps for me. And he was like, oh, I know the guys at Evolution Devices that just won the Toyota Mobility Challenge as a finalist. So they got a fairly large grant to pursue research and development for a functional electrical stimulation device. It's very similar to what I had in mind for my company. So
Right.
I got introduced to them, and then fairly shortly, I think I started in March of that year and moved back to Berkeley. And yeah, and we hit the ground running just trying to make a medical device.
Yeah. And I also went to undergrad with all the guys from Evolution Devices, so I know them quite well personally. And so, what exactly does the Evo Walk device do, and who is it aimed to help?
Yeah, so the primary indication for use for EvoWalk is to treat foot drop, which is a form of paralysis where it's difficult to lift up the lower limb. So the foot, you could still largely walk, but some weakness or something is causing an impairment where you can't lift up the foot each step. Those folks with that issue will have compensatory movements where they might hike their hip or swing their hip outward or use a cane or walker or something like that to stay mobile. With EvoWalk, it uses muscle stimulation. It sticks on the outside of the muscles with electrodes just over the skin, and then it detects the movement using sensors. And we use AI to interpret those sensor signals into meaningful metrics that we could then control the timing of the stimulation. So what we do is we have two channels of stimulation, so we could target two different muscle groups, and then depending on what phase of gait, we might want to turn those muscle groups on or off, basically. And yeah, just adjust it to help people walk as best as they can.
Ah, that's so cool. And I know from talking to you and some people that have used it, they've said it's really improved their ability to walk. And I think it was partially born out of one of the founder, Pierre's, I think his dad had drop foot. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Pilu has multiple sclerosis. So this is a disease. It's a autoimmune disease where essentially the immune system starts attacking the nervous system. So the onset could be as early as the 20s. It might maybe could be younger, but typical onset is 20s, 30s. So these are very active younger individuals that will start getting weakness in their legs, and it's been amazing to see some of the results of people being able to stay active and you get their steps in with the Evo Walk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So as you look at your career arc from starting in undergrad as an engineer to where you're at today as a medical device entrepreneur and researcher, what are some of the exciting trends in technology that you see that may be able to support you in your own independence, but also just technology in general? What are some exciting things that you're seeing?
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible where things are headed. I feel like we're at an inflection point with artificial intelligence. I think for evolution devices, artificial intelligence has been at the foundation for our controllers, and it's a fairly large improvement from previous stimulators that are similar to ours in what it could understand about movement just from that one sensor. Yeah, I guess now with like large language models and just improvements in computer vision and just generally the field of artificial intelligence is just accelerating, and technology as a whole is accelerating. I'm really excited to see where things could go in 10 years,
Yeah,
20 years, 30 years. It'll be absolutely amazing. Some things that I'm particularly looking forward to is more advanced neural interfacing. So things like Neuralink, where it could be implantable and you could get amazing
Yep.
signals to control robots that could be assistive, or even just voice controlled external robots like an assistant butler that could help people out and move
Yeah.
things around for them. Automatic driving is going to be nice, hopefully for traffic. That seems to be like on the cusp of becoming real. It's already real in some cities like San Francisco, but more widespread will be nice. So yeah, those are, I guess, some of the most interesting technological arcs that I'm seeing currently.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an exciting time. And I think that we're seeing a lot of these larger technology trends that really have a unique application in assistive technology. I think like what you're talking about with self-driving cars is a really great example of how this technological solution that's designed for a wide range of people can really have an outsized impact in those of us with mobility issues and helping people regain and maintain their independence. So, yeah, I agree. It's a really exciting time to be in this field. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. It's so nice to see you and connect as always. And for those who want to learn more about you and your work, what's a good website to find you at?
For me personally, I guess LinkedIn is a good place to connect. You can message me there. And then check out evolutiondevices.com and see what we're doing with the EvoWalk and the Evo Vision, which is our motion capture system.
Well, thanks, Andy. And to our listeners, thank you for listening and stay tuned until the next one. Take care.